insane to see. When you have Damian Lillard and Steph Curry out on the court at the same time, it is just not fair. It's not fair at all. I mean, imagine having those two together. They are incredible shooters. And in a game where the three-pointer is so valuable, especially nowadays, they were just racking up the points. Both of them went 8 for 16 from 3 points, so 50% they go from the three-point line. Both of them end up shooting a shot from half court, from the logo, deep outside. They made it from everywhere. And not only did both of them make it from half court, both of them made it from half court after each other. First Dame shoots it from half court, makes it, and then Steph Curry comes up the next possession and makes it at half court as well. I mean, it's insane to see the range on these guys when there's no real defense and they can just go out there and shoot. Welcome to the ChadBurn Show, brought to you by M. Chad Baldwin. Hello and welcome to the ChadBurn Show. I am your host, ChadBurn, and we are back at it for another episode of the ChadBurn Show. This week, the All-Star game in the NBA went down Sunday night. In fact, we had all of the All-Star NBA activities in one day due to the new COVID setup, and I gotta say, I did enjoy it. So we will be going through, obviously, the All-Star activities, kind of skimming over the skills competition because I didn't find that to be the most enjoyable part, but we will obviously talk three-point contest, dunk contest, and the All-Star game itself, and go through kind of the highlights and some of the interesting fun facts, since it really is not a competitive event and game. It is more of a fun thing to watch and just see how everyone plays. So this will be the All-Star episode of the ChadBurn Show, and we're going to get into it right now. So as we mentioned on Sunday, this weekend, we had the NBA All-Star Game where Team LeBron was pitted against Team Durant in a hell of an All-Star face-off. On Team Durant, we had Kawhi Leonard, Jason Tatum, Zion Williamson, who came in for Embiid, which we'll get into later, Kyrie Irving, and Bradley Beal versus Team LeBron with Giannis Antetokounmpo, LeBron James, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Stephen Curry. So we had really, two star-studded teams going at it with a great bench with likes of Mike Conley, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, really James Harden. I mean, there was a great list of all-stars in this game. It felt like everyone deservedly was there. Unfortunately, there were two main stars that I'm interested in, obviously being a 76ers fan, who did not make it to the All-Star weekend. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons were scratched from the All-Star game after it turned out that their shared barber, who they both got a clean cut from before heading out to the All-Star game, tested positive for COVID-19. And due to the NBA's very strict tracing policy, they had to sit Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons out from the game to avoid them spreading anything they might have caught, whether or not they actually caught it or not. They are now going to be under supervision. They're going to be seeing whether or not they get a positive COVID test in the next few days. If they do not, it'll be 7 days from when they came into contact with the barber. So unfortunately, they are going to be missing some of the 76ers game as well, which is important for us as fans in the Philadelphia region. But it was even more sad just to see them not at the All-Star game. I was hoping to see a big game from Joel Embiid on Team Durant. Unfortunately, he was a scratch. He was replaced by Zion Williamson in the starting five for Team Durant, and it was fun to see that rookie get at it. Obviously, he had some pregame jitters, but he did get into it full swing. But before we go into the game itself, which was just an offensive beast of a game, we'll talk about some of the activities before the actual All-Star game. Namely, the one I found the most entertaining, the three-point shooting contest. Three-point shooting contest, which was on fire, having Steph Curry, Mike Conley in it, Donovan Mitchell, and I know I'm going to miss one. Zach LaVine, I think, was in it. Yeah, he got cut in the first round after getting 17. But it was just an absolute slugfest in three-point contest. I didn't expect it to be so crazy. Oh, and Jason Tatum obviously was in it as well. I didn't really expect it to be, three-point contest is fun, and you don't always see them necessarily go very hard at it. They kind of, are It's just there for fun. But this one was close and it was entertaining. And to have someone like Steph Curry in it, you were like, this guy is going to obviously win. So he came in the big favorite. What we didn't expect from me was seeing Mike Conley absolutely tear it up in the three-point shooting contest. In the first round, he gets a 22, able to get a significant lead over there. Or he gets 22, and then Steph Curry in the first round breaks a record for the three-point shooting contest, getting 31 points in the first round. Eventually, Zach LaVine would get cut from the early round, and we go into the final where Mike Conley put up an impressive 27 points in the three-point shooting contest, where you felt that only Steph Curry could beat him, because at that kind of point total, there was no way Donovan Mitchell was going to get close. He did, very close. I think he got 26 in the end. Tatum was not going to get it. So Steph Curry was the one we expected it. Started off a little slow, missing some three-pointers on the first rack, eventually started picking up, got to the end where he needed to make, on the last rack, I think he needed to make 4 out of 5, including the extra point ball, in order to get the lead and win and beat Conley. And, of course, he does it. He nails the last 3 shots, including the extra point ball, which gets him a total of, it was 4 points to jump up to 28 and beat Mike Conley 28-27. And the reason it was just so much fun, right? Like, there's nothing really to go through strategy or anything like that. It's just fun to watch pure shooters go out there and just kill it. Like, it was just beautiful, because a three-point shot, at the end of the day, a beautiful jump shot, it's a work of art, right? To see the great release, to see the wrist go out, the full extension, the ball swishing through, and like especially some of the clean shots Steph got where the net barely moves. It's very enjoyable to watch, and it's simple. There's nothing really to get. There's no weird scoring like in the dunk contest. There's no bizarre skill challenge they're doing. It's just shooting. It's the pure skill of shooting. It's, in my opinion, it is the ultimate skill test at the All-Star game, because the dunk contest, while very impressive, is incredibly subjective. There's no real objective best dunk, right? So every once in a while, we see someone like Aaron Gordon who does something that blows our minds. But in general, it's not going to be, always the best person wins. We saw that especially last year, and now was considered the Dwayne Wade rule. But not always the best person is going to win the dunk contest. It's entirely subjective based on the judges that you have there scoring. Whereas in the three-point contest, there is nothing subjective about it. Either it goes in or it doesn't. And these guys were completely geared up to have a hell of a performance. It was exciting to the end because you knew only Steph could probably make something like that at the end on the baseline. 3 straight three-pointers in order to win and get the lead over Mike Conley. You could see the reaction of Mike Conley on the sideline with Donovan Mitchell, who they're both just going, of course Steph is making this happen. Of course he's going to win this one. They're hoping he starts missing some shots. They start edging closer. They had their hands at each other, hoping maybe he misses just enough in order to get the lead. But no, he makes the last shot in order to win it right at the end. And they all just have to smile and say, that's just Steph being Steph. I mean, he is so incredible behind the arc, and he makes it look effortless. 31 the first round, as we mentioned, new record, and then posting up a 28. I mean, it just doesn't get better than that. It was very fun to watch, super exciting, and just a great reaction from all the players on the court because, again, it's just Chef Steph doing his thing, and absolutely a master at it. Probably no one that you would expect to win, obviously, that much, except for Larry Bird before, who, who was infamous, however you want to put it, for going to the locker room during the All-Star game and seeing everyone he was playing for second. So, when you have Steph in the lineup for a three-point shooting contest, you would assume the same. But absolutely amazing. He walks away with the trophy there. The other big skill contest that's happened at the halftime of the All-Star game was the dunk contest. And of all the skill competitions that were kind of, changed and maybe not say ruined, but, affected by the COVID-19 pandemic and the new layout of the system, I thought the dunk contest was completely ruined. Absolutely ruined by this because it ended up making it shorter. As I said before, right, I think the true test of skill is the three-point contest, but the dunk contest is pure fun. It is creativity. It's these players that are absolute freaks in their profession going out there and doing something that is more creative or never been done before. And that's so hard because every single year when the contestants the year before have upped the ante and done new tricks, done new dunks that haven't been seen before, you need to come up with even more creativity and more ingenuity in order to create something amazing and that will captivate the fans and hopefully get the judges the points to get you to go forward. This one only had, it was shortened again, 3 contestants. They only got 2 dunks in the first round. And then in the second round, they got a dunk. And then they were chosen by the judges who just picked a name of who they thought was more impressive between the 2 finalists. It was so unfair because it was so short. There was no ability to really let them dig deep into their bag of creativity. We saw a lot of them play it safe just to get the dunk in. There was the time limits, the time constraints. They had to make sure they get the dunks in. The attempts that were very tight on them. It just, all in all, made it, for me, just less enjoyable. It just felt rushed. You didn't feel like there was any fun for them. I just did not think it was exactly the way you wanted it to be. The dunks were very kind of things we've seen before. I mean, I think it was, and I forget his name. It was because obviously Simmons ends up winning Anthony Simmons. Obi from the Knicks was in it in the finals. I'm going to blank the young man's name who was in it, did great at the beginning, and I wanted to make Cassius, I believe his name was, who I thought was robbed in the first round because he made a beautiful alley-oop, bounce alley-oop to between the leg dunk that I thought was tremendous. I mean, it was clean. It was perfect. It was on the first go. He had no issues. It was clearly practice. I mean, the man performed great, and he got gypped by the judges. Again, this is the difference between having an objective skill contest versus a subjective one like this. The judges didn't like it because they've seen it before, but even though they may have seen it before, this was done so clean and so perfect. He deserved at least 9s across the board, and he didn't. He got some 8s in there and some lower numbers, and it was just unfair because he was obviously going to get knocked out of it in that round. It's hard to come back when you have a low score compared to everyone else after that. Everyone else got some really a lot better scores, even though some of the dunks were, as well, a little pedestrian. I mean, for whatever reason, Simmons got high scores for being able to jump 13 feet and dunk. Look, I get it. The guy's short and he can jump really high, but there was nothing special about the dunk. All he did was jump and show he had hops, which, yes, good for you, but that's not a creative dunk. I know Obi jumped over both his dad and Julius Randle, and over the top to make the dunk. That was pretty cool. But again, he's 6'9". You think he could probably get over them just with his leg length for sure. I was hoping for see a little more else. The only one that I thought was incredible, and kind of why Anthony Simmons and Obi moved on to the final round. Anthony Simmons ends up winning this one by making a dunk where he tried to kiss the rim and slam it through while running by. Now, so here's the deal. I would have loved to see him kiss the rim. He did not. He was quite far away. The issue as well, though, is that you can't kiss the rim moving at that speed. He could have knocked his freaking teeth out. Like, could he have made it happen? Sure. Could he have maybe skilled it down if he had jumped high enough and be able to kind of like slowly go by and maybe grab the rim and do a kiss and go down? Absolutely. But at the speed he was going at the height and the velocity he's moving at, I mean, clearly it was safer to not risk putting his face on it and losing some teeth at the All-Star game. But I would have loved to see the guy actually kiss the rim. It was perfectly smooth, like the way he went by, the dunk afterwards, the kind of no-look passing dunk. I mean, all of that was pretty good. I'm not going to say pedestrian. It was still very skillful. But, man, if he had been able to kiss the rim, I mean, that would have been all-time right there. Absolutely all-time. But, unfortunately, we just saw, I felt, very kind of weak dunks. I felt they were rushed. I don't think they were given the time they needed to in order to get very creative. And I don't think they prepared well enough. And I don't think you had people in it that were necessarily the best to have in the dunk contest. There's nothing to disrespect to them. They were still very skillful. They showed a great performance. It's just not what we've seen in the past because we've had some incredible dunks between Levine and Aaron Gordon. We've seen them go at a higher level in these dunks, and I kind of wish we had gotten that as well from these players. But again, it's not their fault. The system was screwed up. Doing it at the halftime for the All-Star game, I think, was a dumb idea. It didn't leave any time for them to really get into it. And really hype up the dunk contest as it's meant to be, especially in this COVID era where there were no fans. It only had the healthcare workers in there. So all in all, I felt the dunk contest was the one that suffered the most with the new COVID-19 setup. So, again, not the players' fault, but I think it could have been a lot better. We then move on to the All-Star game where we had Team Durant versus Team LeBron. The All-Star game last year we thought was incredible because they finally played really hard. I can't remember if it got canceled last year, but the year before. But the last All-Star game was so impressive because in the fourth quarter, the players actually played hard. They really wanted to win in the new system where you win by each quarter. And obviously, the charity goes each quarter to a certain charity. The winning team gets that money to donate to their charity. So the way they do it now is better because in the past, obviously, you played a normal game of 4 quarters. The players just didn't try. And they had no incentive to. There's no reason to get injured. It's just there to showcase for the fans and have some fun, put on crazy offensive numbers, and do some crazy shots and dunks. We get that. But in this system, it's proven to show a little more competitiveness from the players. However, obviously, this game started off with little or no defense. It was remarkable to see big defenders who are great down low, like Jokic, literally just step back to let someone go by. Kyrie Irving had ease. It was fun to see players like Kyrie Irving, who I thought looked like he was trying really hard. He's doing incredible. He's really moving and dribbling the ball. He's trying to make cuts to the basket. He's playing like at full game speed. And again, this is during a game that is not full game speed. This is not a game that they're actually trying to win or compete at. But it's more, I would give him credit for actually playing hard to the basket. The big names and the ones that walked away with some highlight reels and big points was obviously Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, Dame Lillard, Kyrie Irving, Bradley Beal, Zion Williamson, I'll say a little bit, and James Harden, right? So across the board on both teams, those are the ones that really came out to play and play hard. In the end, obviously, Team LeBron won and won handedly. They were just smoking them every round. It was insane to see. When you have Damian Lillard and Steph Curry out on the court at the same time, it is just not fair. It's not fair at all. I mean, imagine having those two together. They are incredible shooters. And in a game where the three-pointer is so valuable, especially nowadays, they were just racking up the points. Both of them went 8 for 16 from 3 points. So 50% they go from the three-point line. Both of them end up shooting a shot from half court, from the logo, deep outside. They made it from everywhere. And not only did both of them make it from half court, both of them made it from half court after each other. First Dame shoots it from half court, makes it, and then Steph Curry comes out the next possession and makes it at half court as well. I mean, it's insane to see the range on these guys when there's no real defense and they can just go out there and shoot. They can just make it from, Steph Curry as well. He's just doing turnaround threes. He's fading, making threes. He's kind of just, he just did everything he wanted for 3-pointers, not to mention great assists and passing all across the board. It was just the shooting expedition that went on yesterday was awesome. There's so many times where I'm watching and just like laughing and smiling because it's just so much joy to see these guys perform at this level. But we'll get into more of the stats, talk about a little more on each team. So Team LeBron with Giannis Antetokounmpo, 35 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists. That would earn him the MVP of the game, and rightfully so. But I will say Giannis was definitely hogging the ball when he could. There was this great drive where it's a fast break. I think a lob pass, or maybe Steph or whoever's that point guard at the time, down the court. They hit Giannis. Jokic is trailing behind Giannis, and Jokic clearly assumes that Giannis is going to lay it off the glass for him to dunk, set up some cool alley-oop, do something that would just be fun between the two of them. Instead, Giannis just takes it with no one in front of him and does a huge tomahawk dunk right on the rim. And as he's coming down, you can see Jokic look at him like, man, what the hell? Give me the ball. Give me the assist. Set me up. Let me do something cool here. And it was just so funny because Giannis is clearly laughing. Jokic is obviously laughing at a good time. There's no hate between these guys. But it was just so funny in a game where it's supposed to be this exhibition of pure offense. It was great to see a player out there being like, yo, give me the damn ball, man. I was ready to go. You could see Jokic was wound up ready to dunk it, and he was going to dunk hard. And it was just Giannis doing his thing, keeping the ball. So, some players were hogging the ball. Some players like LeBron James were not shooting the ball at all. LeBron James scored only 4 points. I think he went 2 for 7 and didn't play the second half. So he didn't want to perform, but LeBron being LeBron, letting the other guys shine. Steph Curry, like I mentioned, 8 for 16 from 3-point, like Damian Lillard, 28 points, 4 assists. Damian Lillard would get 32 points, 8 of 16 from 3-point range. The players from Team LeBron that played the most minutes were Chris Paul and Luka Doncic. They had the most minutes played. And obviously, LeBron was the least minutes played behind Rudy Gobert. So, it's kind of like the All-Stars. They kind of just pick when they're going to go in and out. The coaches do have some say, but I think some players are going to get more more time. And maybe it's Chris Paul because he's aging out and getting closer to the end of his career, and the 11th All-Star selection. Sorry, not season, 11th All-Star selection. And his time, maybe they're trying to give him more shots. But, either way, that's how it kind of all went out. I mean, other players like Steph Curry and Damian and Giannis did play a bunch of minutes. But obviously the title went to Luka and Chris Paul. On Team Durant, Kyrie Irving, 24 points, 12 assists, doing amazing passes, some that should have been finished with alley-oops, and I'll mention this with Zion Williamson. But Bradley Beal also 26 points. Zion Williamson had himself some game jitters. I mean, the man was placed into the starting lineup with hours before tip-off because of Embiid, obviously, with the COVID test, could not start, so they started Zion Williamson. And it was fun to see the big man who has amazing hops, dunks insane around the rim, is able to finish around the rim like no one else, and in his second season. And Zion Williamson got a perfect alley-oop from Kyrie Irving earlier, and Zion Williamson missed the dunk. And obviously later in the game he started clicking and he's having fun, but it was funny to see Zion Williamson missing some shots early on in the game, whether it was layups around the rim, some dunks. And you could see he was trying to have fun, but clearly a little nervous too. I mean, it's hard to be in your first All-Star game. That's no easy feat. So I don't hold it against him. It was just funny to actually see it unfold on the screen. A player out there having some actual nerves in his All-Star game. Once he got going, he was completing the dunks. He was fine. But it was definitely funny to see when Kyrie Irving set up perfectly, Zion could not complete it. The other player I want to obviously highlight on Team Durant, James Harden with 21 points. Also played great, shooting amazing from three, some great drives here and there. I mean, again, these guys were not going to hurt themselves, so a lot of shooting from outside, some, easy layups going in, you're not, some Euro steps, but you're not going to see anyone bodying up, driving into the body of another player. I mean, obviously there were some fouls, but the majority of them are going to be off the ball and kind of just swiping at the ball. So it's fun to see. The only defense that really appeared in this game was if someone wasn't looking, another player would try and pick his pocket and knock the ball out and drive down the court. No one's sprinting up and down the court. It was very obviously, tame in that sense on the defensive side of the ball. But that's how the All-Star game's supposed to go. You're not supposed to have, these, incredible defensive performances. That's why the last All-Star game was so incredible, because they actually played serious in the last quarter. But in this one, just a great, fun All-Star game all around. While many people have been quick to critique the all-day All-Star game performance, I happen to enjoy it. I thought besides the dunk contest, that's where you need to make some fixes. Either you hold that on another night or you hold it earlier in the evening before the All-Star game. Do not ever hold it at halftime again. Do not. That was a terrible decision by the NBA. But I rather enjoyed it all in one day. I got to sit down, watch basketball for so many hours just straight. There was the skills contest and 3-point, then the game, then dunking contest, then the second half of the game. I mean, you really got to have basketball for the whole day, and you got to see a lot of different things go down. Do I think that's feasible in a non-COVID world with all the fans and everything? Probably not. But I don't see why you can't shorten it to 2 days. You don't need to do 4 nights of All-Star stuff. You can do it into 2 nights, maybe 1 night. I really enjoyed having it all in one day. It was kind of like sitting down for football Sunday. You just sit down and know you're going to have 7 hours of sports to watch, and that's what the NBA did. And I thought they did a great job with it. I would hope maybe they revisit that and try and combine some events and do the same thing in the next few years. There were clearly a lot of critics of this setup. Looking at articles across different platforms today, and many people were not fans of the whole setup of having it all in one day. They'd rather do it in 4 nights and really enjoy kind of the whole several days of basketball activities. But again, it's like the All-Star game is really for the fans that can go. It's for the NBA to make money. It's for, it's really just a showcase of the top talent. And I don't know why it has to be over many nights. Why not just do it in one day? It allows you to have a day of All-Star basketball and really just have fun with it. Again, it was perfect for me. It was the perfect amount. I had no gripes at all with anything else that went down. Again, the only thing you need to fix is the dunk contest. That just can't be at the halftime again. It just was, in my opinion, is one of the worst dunk contests we've had in a long time. And it's just the bar has been set so high of previous years. You need to just do something about it. There's got to be more showmanship, not from the players. It's not their fault. Like, they did do their dunks, they did what they had to do, but the setup, right? Like, you have to do more. You give them more dunks, have more participants, more rounds, just so we can get a lot out of it. I felt this one was over so quick. And it had to be quick because it was the halftime performance of the All-Star game. But man, I really wish they could have had at least 2 more dunks each, including the first round. I think that they were very much robbed of that experience, and it's a shame because the dunk contest is still big. It still allows you to build your brand. It still allows you to get some publicity and really showcase your skill set. And I feel like these players did not get the chance to really do that. So hopefully they fix that for next year, obviously. But again, I'm all in on a one-day basketball All-Star game. I think 4 nights is ridiculous, and I don't need to watch them half-heartedly play basketball for 4 nights. I think I think the players will also appreciate it too. I think that they wouldn't have to be around, away from the families, or have to play so many days. So I think that should be something they keep. But really enjoyed that. All in all, not a terrible All-Star game in a year of a pandemic. I think there was a lot of criticism, clearly, from LeBron James and other players on why they were even having it. Why did it make sense to possibly create a super spreader event where you have players coming from all across the country to one location in one room, and while they're tested a lot, obviously they are going to be seeing friends and family, and there may be a case where they get traced. I mean, imagine if Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons had not gotten word about their barber early on, and they did happen to be carrying the virus, and they brought it to the All-Star game. I mean, you would have had you would not have then in any of the games following the All-Star break, you wouldn't have any Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Zion Williamson, Luka Doncic. I mean, none of those players would have been available because they all would have caught him in close contact with either Ben Simmons or Joel Embiid. And that's just not right. So I do think that there was justifiable criticism for them actually holding the event. In the long run, I think that it makes sense to do something, just because if we're trying to keep a sense of normalcy during this NBA season, you have to have an all-star game in some way. So I feel like they did have to keep with the image and everything like that. They had to do it. But there's going to be a lot of more controversy going forward about, how is it set up for the playoffs? Are we in a great position in order to get through the playoffs healthy? Like, we don't want any players to be missing playoff series. So a lot will be decided after that. And then obviously whether or not these NBA players get the vaccine in order to help out. But all that has to be their personal decision, and it's going to be tough to see where that goes. But again, all in all, a decent all-star game. I, as a fan, enjoyed it. I'm sure some of the players felt skeptical for even being there. But again, if we're trying to keep this air of normalcy, then you have to have it. There has to be some type of all-star game, just like we're having the playoffs and everything else, and why we're having a season to begin with. Right? Like, we didn't need to have a season, but we are. And they didn't need to travel to every stadium, but they are. So as much as we try and pretend that we're doing everything right now, it's still a crapshoot. There's a chance someone gets it, and it could spread big time throughout the rest of the league. So, this is how it goes. I was happy with it. I thought they did a good job. I thought that, Adam Silver set it up pretty well. TNT did a good job producing it. But hopefully we won't have to deal again with no fans, because that's the whole great part about the All-Star game, right? Is that they're putting on a show for the fans to get them excited and to do something that's special and unique rather than all the other games throughout the season. So here's to hoping that we'll have a better All-Star game next year. But if you're listening, NBA execs, I am standing by as saying that this was a great setup of having it all in one day. Absolutely. And we'll see how it unfolds later on. But excited now that we got through the All-Star game. We are halfway through the NBA season. Got to see great stars going out there, showcasing all they got. And now we get ready for the second half of the season as we make our final push towards the NBA playoffs. And we'll have so much to talk about with the Sixers and where they'll be sitting in the standings. And now seeing which of these teams are built for the long run and built to make a big push into the NBA playoffs. And with that, folks, we are going to wrap it up right there with episode 73 of the ChadBurn Show, the All-Star NBA special. again, it was very fun to watch it. I'm just talking about this on this episode like a fan. I just want to kind of break down what I saw, what was fun about it to anyone that missed it. Again, it was a great performance by a lot of those players out there. The skill challenges were excellent. Very exciting to see. But, that's all we're going to cover today. It was the only big news we had. It was the big sports on Sunday. As I mentioned earlier, we are going to be heading into the second half of the NBA season, so a lot more heating up about discussions of who's going to make it to the NBA playoffs, who is positioned to make kind of a dark horse run similar to the Miami Heat of last year. And will the NBA be properly set up to handle maybe a COVID outbreak as we get closer to the NBA playoffs? All of that is going to be needed to be understood and how we approach these NBA playoffs. But we'll have a lot more on that, a lot more as we're getting more games and the seeding is finally figured out. But excited to get into the second half of the NBA season. And we'll be back more with all of that next week. But until then, have a good evening and good night. Thank you for listening to the ChadBurn Show. Remember to check out all new episodes every Monday at 7 p.m. on Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and all major platforms where you listen to your podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with me and want to send in your questions or requests for topics to discuss in the show, you can email chadburn.show@gmail.com. All episodes have video recorded, which is then posted to our YouTube channel, The ChadBurn Show. Be sure to subscribe to us where you get your podcasts or on our YouTube channel to stay up to date with all our new content. You can also follow the show on Instagram at ChadBurn Show and on Facebook, The ChadBurn Show, to see clips from previously recorded episodes and information on all upcoming shows.